excited about the interest in entrepreneurship and really sharing what opportunities are available for students. So this is our third panel in this semester. So we had one a couple weeks ago on neurodiversity and innovation, and then one for Black History Month celebrating Black and African American entrepreneurs in February. So every single panel, we get some great information and nuggets and inspiration really to think about like what is possible in your own life. Also great networking too. So we've built in some time when the panel is done. So if you wanted to meet with any of the panelists or anyone else who's here, we really encourage you to linger a little bit. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our entrepreneur in residence, Monique Brown.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for being here today. We are super excited about the panel we have lined up today. A group of amazing entrepreneurs, and very grateful for them taking some time out of their busy days to join us. So I'm going to tell you right now, get your questions ready. This is for you. And so if you have questions, comments, ideas, like we actually want to hear that. So I'm planting that seed so you can get your brains turned on and ready to go. But before we get started, I just want to share a little bit about other opportunities here. So number one is this semester we launched a microgrant program. And this is to support students in taking ideas and moving into action. It comes with $500, some tools and content, and some one-on-one mentoring to help you advance your ideas. Applications for this semester are now closed as we're more than halfway. Are we more than halfway through this semester? Holy smokes. Anyway, but it'll be back in the fall and new and improved because our amazing students who have been our guinea pigs along with us building this program this semester have been giving us lots of great feedback and helping us to think about how we might make this even more useful and impactful. So cohort number 2, you can thank cohort number 1 for all the pains and gains that they've gone through to continue to improve this program. But please keep your eye open for this. Applications will likely open for the fall semester in July. And we would love to see a huge crop of candidates for that. We're seeing some really, really cool ideas, great students, and it's a lot of fun. Next, this is one of many events in the greater Sacramento ecosystem. I wanted to share a few others with you if you're interested in entrepreneurship. One is with our friends over at Sac State at the Carlson Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. This weekend they'll be running a startup challenge, and it's about launching your idea in a weekend. They have a fantastic team. They have so much fun. I think it's like $35 to participate. If you need a scholarship, you can reach out to them. It's not too late to sign up for that. So if you want more information, you can see the link there or just Google it, honestly. The second thing is, Amy said, this has been a series, a speaker series that we've launched this spring. Our final one is April 19th. And it's focused on clean tech, and we have some amazing speakers that will be joining us for that one as well. Some serial entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. We have our friends at SMUD that will be sending a representative to really talk about, the importance of innovation in this space, really for our communities moving forward. So I look forward to that one. And then finally, I just want to call out that on April 20th, locally, is the Placer Business Summit. It's a day-long event. A lot of business leaders doing workshops and talking on a range of different things, but networking. It's a great place to network. Again, it's $35 for the day. That includes lunch. And so if you're interested, available, etc., I would check that out because it's a phenomenal place to meet a lot of the business leaders in the community. Okay. NorCal Entrepreneur Hub is a new resource that was launched in partnership with Sierra College, in partnership with the Carlson Center at Sac State. And it's really to provide you guys with a one-stop portal into the resources that support small businesses, entrepreneurs, and those that just want to hang out with entrepreneurs. Like a lot of times it's like, hey, I'm not the founder, but I would love to be on a team that's moving an idea forward, right? So that's awesome. We need those people all the time, right? And so this is a great place to go to find events, meetups, happy hours, workshops, startup challenge events, pitch events, or just, hey, I want to meet with a small business development advisor. How do I find those? Where do I go for that? So great resource, and I encourage you to check it out. This one? All right, so that's all my spiel. Well, I guess without further ado, I'd love to welcome up our amazing panelists. Sorry, I guess all mics are live, just a heads up. Rob, we need you. If we turn the volume down, maybe that'll be, I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to just get this started, and I've told them this is a discussion, and so we're just going to jump in. But to get us started, I'd love for you to meet and learn a little bit about each of these amazing women. So I've asked them to introduce themselves, share a little bit about themselves personally, and then the company that they're leading or organization that they're leading. And I'll start with you, Shobha.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining here today. My name is Shobha Malarapu, and I'm the president, founder, and CEO of Anvaya Solutions. We're a cybersecurity firm. I'm an engineer by training. I have a master's in electrical engineering, and I did chip design for most of my professional career before I started the company. So I worked for General Motors as well as Intel Corporation, and left Intel in 2007 and started Anvaya Solutions, and has evolved into a cybersecurity firm. And we serve mostly government agencies and utilities, and we focus on enhancing security, and we have protected over 500 million records so far. And it's been an amazing journey, but I do say to people that it's not for the faint of heart, but it is, it's very rewarding and very personally and emotionally, and very fulfilling in my life. I have experienced so many things that I would not have otherwise as an engineer or being at Intel, and that was my entire world, but it has opened so many things to me, and I'm very grateful for that. So,
thank you so much, Shobha. Oh yeah, I like clapping too, so I feel like if you want to cheer too, you can woo, that was great. Okay, Stacy.
All right, hello. My name is Stacy Meiji, and I am a functional nutritionist. I live out in Loomis, and I've got a small business called Gut Check, where it started out. There's a long whole journey to it. I don't want to go into all the details unless you want it, but I started out seeing clients one-on-one for gut health issues, and that morphed into cooking classes, because I would say, okay, stop eating this food, stop eating that food, this is bad for you, and then they'd say, what the heck am I supposed to eat? And I'm like, oh, it's fine, just come over, I'll show you how to cook, healthy foods, and that just morphed into cooking classes. So now the bulk of my business is cooking classes for adults and kids, because we took home ec away from a lot of the public schools, and kids go off to college or out into the real world only knowing how to order pizza or make mac and cheese from a box. And so, yeah, I now have 12 instructors, and we teach a variety of things from, how to make bone broth or sourdough bread, or how do you ferment vegetables, or how do you start a garden, or, homesteading. We've got instructors that focus on, raising chickens and rabbits and all the things. Last night I just did a pantry clean out class where it's like, how do you just clean up everything in your household, whether it's, your pantry, your refrigerator, your cosmetics, all the stuff. So we have instructors that cover all of the topics. And so, yeah, that's what Gut Check is all about.
Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. All right, ready? Let's do it. Woo! That was great. All right, Donna.
These are some pretty impressive roles here. I feel a little bit out of place, I'll be honest.
Wait, I
play video games. My name is Donna Basic Tech Walters. I'm a gamer, and I founded College Esports, which is a nonprofit organization specifically to help educators, community leaders, and government officials form and develop esports programs that enhance the educational and career experience. So that is pretty much, in short, what I do. I do have an MBA as well from Sac State, Global Business and Entrepreneurship. And I would love to talk to all of you about how you can make education and career path development super fun through video games and esports, which for those that don't know, esports is competitive online gaming.
Awesome. Thank you. Woo-hoo! All right, Shelby.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelby. I'm the founder of Boomerang. We're a software as a service for fashion retailers to handle their returns. In short, we make every fashion brand a part of the circular economy. And this started from my own passion for shopping online and wanting to find an easier way to return clothes and making sure that the majority of clothes were resold and not just sent to landfill. So I'm a recent college graduate. I went to San Jose State, but I've been a lifelong Sacramento resident. So I'm so excited to talk with you all about founding, being a first-time founder, being a younger entrepreneur, and what it means to hold your own in B2B enterprise sales. So I'm super excited to see you all here today. Thank you.
Awesome. You would. Great job, you guys. So I imagine that you can see we have an amazing, a tremendous wealth of resources here. What I really love about this group is the variety of companies that they're working in, industries that they're working in, and the variety of stages, right, and backgrounds and experiences. To me, that's just like what is so rich about entrepreneurship. So again, thank you. I'm going to start with a question, just real basic, like, how did you get started? Like, and I mean, like, literally, like, did you write a business plan? Did you go, file your incorporation documents? Like, what was the first thing that you did when you said, maybe I'm going to start a business?
So you're a great resource to start a business too, but Sacramento has a wealth of resources. So before I had incorporated it, so I went to an attorney and just incorporated it like 5 years before I actually started the business. But I quote a few sources that anyone can access to for free, have access to for free. So one is SBDC, SCORE, Women's Business Center.
And I'm going to pause you for a second. SBDC.
Small Business Development Center. SCORE is retired entrepreneurs, so they give you free advice and they'll assign one-on-one mentor to you. There is Women's Business Center, Small Business Administration, a few things. But a lot of things have come up since I started the business, but I used to go to these classes. I had no idea of what I was getting into, and I was at Intel, and always being in commercial, I never knew anything about government either. So as I attended more of these classes, I got exposed to, this is the process that you need to go to do business with the government. And it seemed like there is a set process instead of going to private businesses, which I didn't know anything about unless you know someone or you know how to get into. Government is more open and public, so you get the information more easily. And as I gathered all this information, I registered in different websites and became a small business, certified small business with the state of California, and so on. So as I started getting into more databases, I started receiving more opportunities, and these are requests for proposals. So that's when I started responding, and that's how I got into government. So that's how I got started.
A follow-up question on that. Did you quit your job?
Yes, I quit my job. Okay, so there is a little, the reason I even started the business, so I started at Intel as a part-time employee because my kids were little at the time. I wanted work-life balance. Though I ended up working 60, 70-hour weeks for many months a year without pay, they finally said it's not fair for you, so you need to go full-time. And I worked about 4 years for as a full-time employee at Intel, and I never got sabbatical because I didn't stay as full-time long enough. And my husband was also working at Intel, and we were chatting on Messenger at the time as to, okay, who is going to pick up the kids, who is going to drop, when are you getting off? And it was such a nightmare, and I didn't want that type of life for me or for my kids. So I decided to quit and start a company so I can set my own hours and be
Which
part-time.
are still 60 to 70 hours a week, right?
But at least I had the freedom to say no and only take on what I could handle. So I wanted that independence, and that's the reason I even started the company. But quitting, quitting wasn't, I don't consider that a very big, bold move because my husband was still working. So I don't think it's very noble or anything like that. But for people who actually quit and start without any backing, I really admire them. Though we did have to make some sacrifices going from 2 salaries to 1 salary, but it wasn't like we're not able to make the mortgage or anything like that. So,
Thank you. Stacy, did you do a business plan? What'd you do?
I just opened my door. I literally was just like, anybody want to know about nutrition? I can teach you about nutrition. I married an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, and he definitely inspired me to just go out there, Stacy. Just go out there and find the people. And I was scared to death, but I just started doing like free nutrition talks within our community, at the library, at the whatever, my mom group. I'm like, okay, do you want to know about nutrition? What questions do you have? Let's get together over coffee and the mom tribe, it makes news travel really fast. So that's just kind of how it started, just a couple of little classes here and there for free, and then word of mouth just took off.
What I love about that is it's kind of low stakes practice, right? Like you're just kind of practicing a lot. And there's not like, you haven't made this big announcement, you haven't invested a ton of money, you're just kind of like starting, and you get better and probably more confident as you go.
Absolutely.
And then the value creation becomes a lot more evident.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just have to get over the imposter syndrome and just get out there and talk to the people. Find out what they want, and figure out how you can contribute to that.
I love that. And we were just, where's Safira? We were just having this conversation with one of her students, one of our microgrant students today, who's like, I'm not sure what's next. And it was like, get out of the building, go start talking to people. That's a great next step. So.
yeah, I want to add to that. In fact, my very first project, it was with Smart. And the reason I got it was I networked with other business owners, and we partnered because as a new business, I didn't have enough capability or capacity to do the work. So 3 businesses partnered together to form a team and bid on a project at Smart, and we won it. So that's so getting out there and meeting other entrepreneurs is a great way to get started.
And my path was kind of similar more to Stacy's, where I just kind of opened the doors. And one of the challenges when it comes to esports and video games, and specifically when you're combining it with education and career development, is that there isn't anything out there that's like it, right? And so there's nothing to model off of. And I kind of fell into this role, believe it or not. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, never wanted to own my own business. I didn't want to be, like the CEO. I always was really happy with being second in command. I wanted to work for other people, right? However, when I went back to school, because I was a returning student, considered, non-traditional, which is a nice way of saying I'm much older than the average college students. I was trying to find my place on campus, and I hadn't taken a math class in like 15 years, right? So, holy cow, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna survive? Playing Overwatch, which is one of my games that I love, and one of my friends from Texas actually said, oh, you know what you could do? Just go to your gaming group that's on campus. And I'm like, what? There's college esports? What are you talking about? So I reached out to my club president, and I asked him, I said, well, what do you want to do with this club? Because I want to learn how to play Overwatch a little bit better. And he said, well, I want to make this a full-on program. Well, I happen to have community management experience that was my first life, if you will. And so managed a bunch of homeowners associations, apartment communities, built and grew communities, loved gaming. That was my whole background. And so I said, oh my gosh, we could totally get you there. So we ended up implementing a bunch of policies, procedures, practices that helped grow the club from 15 CSGO players to a Discord community of over like 350, 400 people in 2 semesters. So about 1 year, right? So huge growth. We onboarded the California State Fair, assisted with them on launching their inaugural Bear Cup esports tournament tournament. We ended up working with Big Sky Conference, which is our varsity athletic conference for Sacramento State, brought their inaugural tournament over there, and then it just kind of kept growing and growing. Pretty soon, I founded the Cal State Esports Collective, which brought all 23 of the California State University esports communities together, pitched to the chancellor's office a program or a plan to implement system-wide support, and then they took it, they are running with it, and so now we have esports support for higher education throughout the CSUs. I'm now working with the UC system. I'm working with community colleges. I have actually worked with Sierra College before, so that's been pretty cool. And I'm almost done, I promise. Bringing together everybody, it's a long journey. Bringing together everybody really helped me to understand, okay, there's a space here, and getting involved with my community, there's something that needs to happen. There's a lot of people coming into the space that were just trying to make money off of the gamers, and I felt very, mother hen protective over my community, and I said, no, let's make sure that we're connecting educators with the right resources so it's not, they're not like vultures coming in to take advantage of our youth, right? So now I work with, I launched the nonprofit. I work with the K through, what I like to refer K through 20 space, which is kindergarten all the way up through graduate school. And that's, what I'm bringing together the best of the best to support you all in your passion. So that's how I started.
I love it. And I love that, that came from your passion, right? Yeah, so that's an inspiring journey. Thanks for sharing.
And then I scrambled, just to let you know. I scrambled on how to, get the, information I needed to actually launch
How do I
and
do this?
all that fun stuff.
Well, and the nonprofit, which is a business model, right? A nonprofit model is a whole another can of worms, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Shelby.
So when I started, I would say I had multiple starts. I kind of, shrunk everything down into like little pieces. So it first started with, I was concerned about my own online shopping habit, and I was like, if I don't get a handle on making these returns, I'm gonna be broke. So what are we gonna do? And just kind of this self-assessment, and that turned into going onto YouTube and seeing where do returns go, and realizing that's kind of shady. And then seeing, why is there a service out there that has already solved it? And I didn't find any that really fit what I was looking for. So I was still working at another disability services startup, and on nights and weekends, I would just toil around and create a wireframe of an app and go on YouTube University and figure out different quick, no-code tools to try and figure out how to get something out there, because I just always told myself each time that I started, whether it was after work or on the weekends, that I just want to keep pursuing this just for my own sake and, self-esteem of I can pursue an idea and, see where I fall or see where it lands. Not really thinking that it would end up turning into, that I would end up being the founder of a startup. So I had multiple starts, and that's what kept it fun and exciting, because I just allowed myself to be on a journey and not really being super tied to a destination. And that's what allowed me to get an app in the App Store, which is a pretty cool feeling. And then I started going to different college campuses. I would go to Sac State, I would go to ARC, I would go to San Jose State, and just walk around and be like, hey, would you pay for someone to manage your returns? Would you pay for someone to come and pick up your stuff, similar to Uber? And that's a part of that getting out of the building that I think was really important, because I originally felt oh, am I businessy enough? Do I seem like a legit business? It was just me in my pink coat and a Telfar bag talking to people. But it was really genuine, and I was able to get awesome feedback from others, and then they wanted to join on my journey, and then they, joined the wait list on my little Squarespace website that I had made. And so I always just tell myself, each day you're starting something new, because if I felt if I had gone into it thinking of I want to start a startup, I don't know if I would have made it this far. It would have been too overwhelming.
That's one of the things I think that you touched on that's so key and critical is, testing, right? Going out there and asking your audience, what do you want? What do you want to see? And there's, that's the best way to really do it. So love to hear that you did that.
Yeah, and it's cool now, because as I saw with the micro grant opportunity, that's similar to kind of what I set up for myself. I saved my money, and I was I'm going to set a little bit of cash aside to pursue this. And that was about the amount that I needed to realize, okay, well, there are some people who are interested. There really is a better audience to sell this to a business, to an enterprise, and being able to de-risk it even that far with that, small amount of resources, as opposed to kind of going all in on this grand scheme, really helped build up my confidence and my assurance in knowing how and when to move forward. So that's how I made it, manageable for myself.
I feel like you probably had to teach yourself a lot of things along the way too, right?
Yeah. YouTube University. It's so awesome. It's free. People will want to talk to you about their little passions in their journeys, and that's how I learned everything so far. And then I, was able to build up the confidence to go and talk to people that are now my mentors. So you're constantly learning, but that's what keeps it fun and fresh.
One of the things that Monique, you had mentioned before was the business plan. And so I kind of want to dive into that because there's a lot of, pros and cons for it. The pro is that you get this really outlined, great piece of document that you can launch your business and feel really confident with. The con is it takes forever. It really does.
And then once it's printed, it's obsolete, right?
Right,
kind of thing.
right.
Like by the time you get to the end, the beginning has to change again or whatever. But yeah, so how do you think about planning though? I mean, you go from this kind of organic birth of these companies and ideas, right? Which I think you guys all reflected in one way or another. And then at some point, especially when you start to bring in other instructors and other stakeholders and employees, right? There has to be more structure. And so what is that point for you and what did that look like? Did it become a business plan? Is it, how do you project manage going from just me having this idea and testing this thing and getting good feedback to I am a business owner, I am running a company? Like, what were some of the key things along the way that you did?
So first thing is to assess business plan. I did do a business plan, so I don't stick to it much. Like you said, it becomes obsolete, but it does force you to think things through and identify what you need to do next and what are the steps you need to take and think of the bigger picture than just what you're doing at the moment. So for me, the way I decide on how to hire is what are the things that I'm doing currently and what are the things that someone else can take over and that I can delegate to. And like I used to do all the proposals before, and now I have someone who writes the proposals and I oversee, and now I spend a couple of hours just reviewing it at a very high level before it goes out. So I used to do more of the project management for the projects. Now I have people who are who I have the confidence that they can manage the projects as well. So things like that, as I bring on more people and that I'm offloading things, and that's how I determine who brings and who to bring on. But another thing is we're also a very innovative company. We have 10 patents in security engineering, and that engineer in me never dies. And we also are working on another SaaS product, a software as service product for risk management. So we're always innovating, and I want to bring on people that have this creative thinking and are hungry to do more and be more innovative, not just only delivering projects. So I think that keeps it fresh for others as well in the company. And we're a small enough company that I do have a pulse on everything and on everyone who does or what they're doing. But I'm not a micromanager. I do not want. I can go days without even talking to my admin because I trust what she's doing. So it is. I think it's the trust that you in the people that you bring on, and for the right positions. I still have a lot of positions that I would like to bring people on that I don't have the funds for, but eventually we will get there. So we just started a marketing arm, within the company, not for internal use. So we're slowly building that. Though we are a 15-year-old company, we have been more focused on projects and not less on marketing. It's mostly by word of mouth, even within government. So. But we will get there.
So I started off, I'm still essentially kind of in the infancy stages of the nonprofit, right? We've launched, technically filed April 2022, however, didn't really start doing what you see or the visible work until about January of this year. So even though I have all this experience before, my organization is relatively new. I didn't form an actual business plan for what you see today. However, I did utilize my resources like the Growth Factory over here with Monique, along with Sacramento Entrepreneurship Academy. I went through that cohort. I also went through the UC Davis Entrepreneurship Academy. They gave me some really excellent foundations and tools to get me started to where I am today. So a couple years ago, I took those courses, or I was involved with that segment, if you will. And I learned how to do the business plan. So I was able to do like a rough draft or flesh out some of the ideas I had. And then really as the years kind of went on, or the last couple of years went on, I was able to fine tune it into what you're able to see today. The great thing about technology, and as you all know, things change very rapidly, so I can still fine tune it even as I'm going along, and I still curate it to everybody's needs. So what maybe I did start off with a business plan in my introduction with SEA, or Sacramento Entrepreneurship Academy, is kind of the same now, but it's so different simultaneously.
That's awesome. Like for myself, we had already started well before I had officially incorporated into like a company. But prior to that, the business plans definitely developed, kind of like what everyone else spoke to. At the very beginning, I found this really cool tool called liveplan.com, and it's where you can, like, software as a service, you go on and you subscribe per month to create your business plan. And I used to think that business plans were this super intimidating thing where it was a bunch of numbers and math and just Excel spreadsheet. But what I liked about that tool was that they asked you questions like, where are you going to find your customer? How do you access them? How frequently are they going to purchase your product? What components go into building your product or, executing? And even just writing down those qualitative answers into that spreadsheet or into that form really helped me flesh out to then be able to go and figure out, okay, what are my cost of goods? What is the customer acquisition cost? And then I could make a budget for whatever experiment that I wanted to do that weekend. And then, eventually that, continued to morph to where I could, by the time I was in Fourth Wave, which is a women's accelerator based in Sacramento, late last year, we went through and we did the big, scary Excel spreadsheet, with like the forecast of what our sales and our spend would be, and really being able to, have the handheld and the mentorship for someone to let me know that your business plan is how you tell a story to a potential investor or a team member or a customer as to how you plan on growing the business and what the ebbs and flows of your business will be. So you don't necessarily need to be great at math. You just have to kind of like push yourself to really sit and think about the details that are easy to want to gloss over, but are critical to your business.
I love that you touch on the learning aspects too. So I'm not going to lie, I actually still have my textbooks from my courses. They literally actually saved me and helped me to this day. So I do highly recommend that if you're thinking, even if you don't know if you want to start your own business, or if you don't know if you want to launch something, keep your textbooks if it's something that you think might be useful for you, because you never know when you're actually going to need it. And I was able to, during my undergrad, actually directly apply the knowledge I was learning from the classrooms in what I call a safe environment. Being on college campus, you can't get fired, right? So you can try to execute these in your student clubs and get that hands-on knowledge that you want, or that practice that you really want in the student club while you're on campus using your curriculum that you're learning in class, and then it helps you to really kind of form what you're going to end up doing ultimately.
What about you, Stacy?
Like I said, I never did a business plan. It's still scary numbers, Excel spreadsheets. My husband's always like, you should really do a business plan. I'm like, I don't need that. I'm scrappy. I was in the military for 9.5 years. I'm scrappy. I have big dreams, and I'm determined. And if I don't reach my goals, then I'm really, really hard on myself. So
Have you documented your goals?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about what that looks like.
It's never been financial. So my business never was like, I'm going to make $1 gazillion, because I just don't need to do that. It's not a priority for me. My goal was to reach the community and help people with their health, help people detoxify their households and put healthier food on the table. Mom guilt is a huge thing when moms just say, screw it, dinner, no, just order pizza. And then they feel guilty about it because everybody feels terrible because they ate the crappy pizza, right? So that was always my goal, and I just thought, okay, if I can teach 10 people something new, great. And then it turned into 100 people, then it turned into 1,000. Like, we have hundreds of people that come through my home. My business is still in my home. We have hundreds of people that come through every month. And it's a service. It's not really a product, like some of you have products. I do have one product that started as just like a whim. So I started making and taking elderberry syrup for just immune health. One of my weird witchcrafty things that my family's like, oh God, what is she doing now, right? And I'm like, take this, it'll help boost your immune system, and this is before COVID. And a lot of my clients and customers were like, how are you staying healthy through, cold and flu season? I'm like, oh, I take elderberry syrup. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh, you can make it super easily in your Instant Pot. So I finally said, well, I'll get like a case of empty bottles from Amazon, and I'll make a batch, and I'll just do like porch pickup. Does anybody want porch pickup? My husband's like, oh my God, no, nobody knows what this is. Within 24 hours of me posting it on social media, it was gone. Every bottle was gone. And I'm like, And he's like, it's a fluke, whatever. So I'm like, I'll get another case, we'll try it again, see what happens. Same thing. Now it's like this $10,000 a month business, like part of my business that just goes off my porch. Like, it's crazy. So there was no real plan for that. It just sort of happened.
You were open to the opportunity, and yeah.
I just wanted to help 12 people.
Yeah. But I think what's important to note is you're clear about what you want to accomplish.
Absolutely.
Right, and I think that may not take form of a business plan, but you are directionally driven.
Yes.
Right, and I think that informs the work that you do.
Absolutely.
In a really meaningful, obviously very lucrative, elderberry syrup way. I'm going to come to you guys. I want to make sure if you have questions, we get those integrated. I'm sorry, I'm so interested in what they're saying. My back is kind of to you, so I'm sorry if you've been raising hands or whatever. Safira.
I want to know what are the things that have happened in your journey when you fell flat on your face, what happened, and what you did.
I'll go first. So just when the pandemic started, my husband, who quit Intel and joined me about in 2014, I started the business in 2007. He had a brain hemorrhage. So then he went through 3 open brain surgeries at Stanford, and it was a very difficult time for her. He couldn't even sit up or stand up. Now he's back at work, and so still doing therapy. Tremendous progress for him against all expectations. So I'm very grateful for that. So during the same time, he was also part of the business, and he was on some project deliveries as well. So we had some difficult customers where things happened, and anyway, it was very difficult situation that we couldn't resolve. And I ended up walking away and lost huge sum. And another customer was delaying payments, and I couldn't pay. And literally I had to scrape for the payroll. And my son, my adult son now, and who had very little savings, and he scraped everything and he gave it to me. But it was, at that time, I thought, why am I even doing the business? I want to quit. And there are many occasions. I have many business owners, friends who are business owners, and everyone feels that they want to quit at some point or the other. Even the other day, I was talking to a friend, and she went from 8 million to 5 million business, and she wants to quit because now the business is not going as well as she wanted it to, because she was shooting for 100 million. So there are always times that business owners want to quit, but at that time I did feel that way. But I said, I have worked so hard for this all my life, and I'm not going to quit at this time. So whatever happens, and the team was amazing. The rest of all the employees in my company, they stepped up and took over some of the roles my husband was doing, and also they were very understanding about our schedules and so on. So that really helped. And outside of the business, there were family and friends helping and bringing food and providing support, and both my kids stayed with us during the difficult time. So all these factors helped us pull through, and we decided, our kids were like, you should probably be retiring soon. No, this is too early, I can't retire. And so, but I stayed on, and I'm very grateful and thankful that I didn't quit at the time, because we have doubled our business since then, and we're planning to grow more.
Thank you for sharing that, yeah. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. Okay. I was teaching a lot of the classes myself, and it wasn't a lot. I mean, it was like one a week, maybe. And I thought, I'm going to do an online class. That's what people need. This is before COVID, and everybody did everything online. I was like, I'm going to do an online class, and it's going to have like multiple, modules and whatnot on how to clean out your pantry, how to clean out your fridge, how to clean out all the things. And I thought, this is going to be huge. This is what everybody wants, right? Because I was talking to everybody. They're like, oh, that'd be amazing. I was so excited, and I had to like teach myself how to use Kajabi and all the things, which I'm not a tech person, so it was very challenging. And we put it all together. My husband did like all my video of everything, and I hated being in front of the camera. I was like, this is terrible. This is my worst nightmare, but I'm going to make it work. And it was amazing, and I was so proud of it. And I launched it, and it was crickets, like crickets. And I was like, oh my God, I am so mortified. And that was like a hard pill to swallow for sure. But I stepped away from it and said, okay, I'm not even going to pay for Kajabi anymore. I'm not going to bother with that. I sold a couple of them, but no biggie. So I got rid of it, and I just said, okay, how can I do this more in person? And I started reaching out and building my instructor team, which none of them are employees. They're all small business owners as well. And so I started building my team saying, hey, would you be interested in collaborating and teaching something that is your skill set, that is like that you're passionate about? And then it just grew from there. So I took that horrible, fall flat on my face with my online course and turned it into something that's now what I thrive on.
Awesome. Learning, right? Yeah.
Yeah, learning and adapting, that is, yeah, absolutely. Probably one of the key. So in addition to the services that I provide for educators and et cetera, right, I also bring on student interns. And, and we're talking real internships, not the internships where people are like, yeah, you're an intern, wink, wink, do all of our work for us. No, I'm talking like, you let me know what you want to do, and I will work with you to try to help enhance what it is that you're trying to achieve and accomplish, and then connect you with the network and the resources that, we have available. Well, one of the situations happened where we got this really killer opportunity. We were going to we host tournaments using students, interns, right? And the student interns get their hands-on learning experience or experiential learning experience through those activities by building and executing tournaments. And so we had everything all lined up to participate at a convention and host our semifinals and our finals at a convention that would just generally draw in probably 20 to 30,000 plus attendees. And so huge opportunity for our student groups. They were extremely excited. We were bringing together colleges from all over California through all the different systems. And then the tech bubble burst. And then all these tech companies no longer have money. There's massive layoffs that were going on. And we were told that we were no longer able to be on the main stage competing in our semifinals and finals. So that was kind of like an, oh no moment, because what am I going to deliver? What kind of news am I delivering to these students that really had their hearts set on this incredible experience? Well, come to find out that we were able to kind of, bend and flex, right? We have to find alternative solutions. We were able to pull together a panel instead, or a couple of panels that will still be hosted on the main stage during this year's event, but we are also building those bridges for future opportunities. And then in addition to that, we're expanding actually and bringing more opportunities to our student interns as well. So yeah, definitely some crisis management
Pivot.
that can be involved.
Small pivots, yes. Shelby.
Heck yeah, always embrace the pivot. So one of my experiences very early in the development, this is before we were even like official on paper or anything. I said, okay, I've gone to a bunch of different college campuses and talked with individuals about their experiences with online shopping returns. Maybe I want to host like a small event. So I became friends with an ice cream shop owner in San Jose, and he was like, yeah, you can kind of set up shop in front of my ice cream shop, have a table, have some balloons, and get a chance to talk to customers en masse, like your type of consumer. So I was like, okay, cute, this is gonna be great. And already, as soon as he gave me the okay, I started envisioning that scene from SpongeBob where they're passing out the pretty patties. And it's just like a knockout success. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna go to Dollar Tree, I got these balloons and this table. I was really thinking that, okay, this will be like a great launch to our app and we'll make all this money and Fortune 500, here we come. And that did not happen. And in the moment of it, standing out there with the table, with my sign and my shirt that said Boomerang, I felt like, you know, ebbs and flows of like, oh my gosh, am I failing? This isn't going how I expected to. But by allowing myself to be vulnerable to the experience and the journey, I said, okay, how can I flip this? No one's downloading the app, but I can talk to people. And that's where I got some of my best customer discovery and relationship building, from talking with busy moms who are like, okay, yeah, this is great, I would use it, but for reasons X, Y, and Z, this doesn't really fit what I'm trying to do. Or talking to other young consumers, Gen Z people who were like, these are the places that I shop, can you return clothes from there? Kind of just being very flexible to the experience and doing that type of pivot on the moment to be able to say, how can I best maximize my time and the time of others in this moment in order to make something better? That allowed me to take all that information and go back and change our business plan to something even better. You know, if I hadn't have been that bold, or if I hadn't been thinking on my feet that strongly, I would have just kind of packed up my little table and gone home. But I said, you know what, I still want to go through with it. I still want to do this. How can I learn from others instead of being so tied to this one exact outcome? So I'm really grateful for that experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's why I said in the beginning that business is not for the faint of heart.
Yes, yes, please. Kind of the startup funds, like how much did you need to get started, and maybe how much space do you need to start, are the questions. And yeah, so how much did you need to get started? You know,
You
give or-
do need
didn't-
money to incorporate, because I mean you can go as a sole proprietor, but you're taking a risk of losing everything, because if you form a corporation or LLC, it'll create a shield between you and the company. So anything that goes wrong, if someone sues you, you have that protection from your personal assets. So the first thing you want to do is form a company, and that could cost, I don't know, $1,000 or
Yeah,
less.
I think there's, again, there's a lot of resources like the SBDC and stuff that can at least get you started. And there's a lot of, you can file it on your own, and there's, you know, legal Zoom contracts and stuff like that. But there's annual fees
Yeah,
to that
there is
as well.
franchise
Yeah.
fee. FTB doesn't leave you alone. You have to pay $800 a year, even if you make $0 in the business. So that's a franchise tax, it's called. And you don't owe any federal taxes if you don't make anything, but franchise tax board, you have to pay that. So that's an expense. But depending on the business, I worked from home for many years, for at least 7 years before I had an office. So you don't have to have an office, depending on the type of business you're doing, right? So, but there are always things you want to have a website to market, and you may need other resources. You may need to buy materials, depending on the service you're providing, so or product you're providing. So you do need investment for that. So I would say at least a couple of $1,000 just to be on the safe side.
Other thoughts?
I bought a business license and I bought insurance. It's a couple $100. And food from my first cooking class.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons why I launched a nonprofit, is specifically because you get so many amazing benefits and discounts and breaks, and so including tax breaks, right? And but you know, that's one of the beauties of not having employees at this point in time in my path, is I don't have to pay out, you know, certain things like workers' compensation or all these other requirements that I've discovered through all of my research, you know, living it, right? That, you know, there's all these additional things. So it's just me. The only thing is that if I'm not pulling in funds, I can't pay myself. So I'm, you know, just like most people in the esports profession right now, because it's still in its infancy stages when it comes to the industry, then we, you know, oftentimes have two different jobs. The one that we're in, trying to grow the business of esports, and then our primary job. And so that will help, the primary job helps supplement some of the costs. I would say for me, it was probably less than $500 to get all of the filings I needed to get. So reserving my name, right? Because you want to make sure you do that. Trademarking my logo, applying, for certain tax breaks and exceptions. So, I think that really a few $100s, just like Stacy's saying, can really do a lot. But it depends on what you're trying to do too.
Yeah, and I think these are great answers. I want to say two things. One is that do it when it matters, right? Like, so it's not necessary to go out and spend a couple $1,000s to get incorporated before you have a single customer, right? So there are these kind of stages, and you can step into something with a business license and insurance, and I'm glad you said that because that is important, right? You can step into that very, very quickly. On the nonprofit side, there are some financial opportunities there as a nonprofit, but there's also a load, right? Like you have a governance board. It's actually not yours anymore. It's a public benefit corporation, so you don't have ownership of that, right? Like, and so you have to decide, are these trade-offs, something that you want to make? And then Shelby, what did you do?
I tried to spend the least amount of money as possible. I was one of those people who did not get business insurance, and I was well into the business at that point, but I think that was just a matter of just luck, that nothing happened. But I think it's also dependent on what it is that you're doing. When I first got started, I said I want a customer, so I said, how can I set up shop? So my starting costs were a Squarespace subscription, and I made a logo on Canva. So how much Canva costs, and then it started to build from there as we became more legitimate. I definitely agree as far as watching out for those annual fees that come with business licenses and things. That's stuff that I have to now include in my business plan. But prior to that, I was in the same boat of less than $500 to just get started and get out there.
Balloons at the dollar store, right?
Balloons at the dollar store. And, I love the, Canva has a free version, right? There are so many free tools out there right now to support people from going from 0 to 1, that first idea stage. I think I shared it on Canva that Amazon actually just launched a huge small business portal, and it's all education and how-tos and connections to resources for how to start a small business. It's actually really well done, and I would recommend checking it out. But there's a lot out there that you can do for free or very little money once you start, and then once you start to have more revenue, more customers, then especially when you start to have more customers, then some of the things like having that shield, an LLC or something like that, or having the business insurance, that starts to become more important pretty quickly. But you don't need that day one necessarily. Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to add on to keeping the cost low, look for all of those free services like we've been talking about. So, for example, digital business cards. I don't have to buy, hundreds of business cards. I have a digital business card, and so I just have to change it online, and then people can scan the QR code to get my information. There's other things like Calendly. It helps with my organization, so that now I don't have to hire somebody to help with my calendaring. It's just a free website that you can go to, and they have an option for paid, for more meetings, but basically it's a way to auto schedule meetings. And then I take advantage of Zoom. So Zoom is great, for one-on-one meetings. I just do the free version that's 40 minutes. I try to schedule 20-minute meetings, depending on, if it's an intro or if it's like a longer conversation. So there's lots of free resources that are out there, free websites. You can get usually one-page website for free, so that will be a good landing page just to get you started. And then once you start getting some of that income, like everybody's saying here, then you can start growing at that point.
Other questions? Yeah, go ahead. That is a great question. How did you find some of your initial customers? Who wants to start? You want to start, Shobha?
Sure. So, like I said, I attended a lot of classes and got on all these lists and started receiving requests for proposals. So that's how I started responding to them and got my first customer. And also, the very first one, because I didn't have all the capabilities that they were asking for, I teamed with other companies. So.
And I think we should point out on this, we have business to business here. So she's selling to business and government. So do you do business to business or business to government? Both. So business to business, business to government. So that is going to look very different than we have business to consumer. We have two business, well, you're selling to
I'm
business.
B2B SaaS.
Yeah, so B2B SaaS, business to consumer.
I'm kind of a little bit of
You have-
everything, just because esports really is that way, right?
You're
So
hitting-
business to consumer, but also business to business and business to government.
Who pays for you?
So that would be mostly government contracts. So cities, I'm currently working with a couple city leaders here in the Sacramento area. So they would hire us to put on events,
Right.
but then educators would also hire us to help form curriculum, et cetera.
So we usually look at customers too, and I want you guys to answer her question, but I just wanted to put some context. We usually look at customers as the people who pay for what you do. And in Donna's case, she has users like the gamers and the students, right? And they're not paying to be involved with her, but unless she has them, she's not going to have customers, right? So she has to go get those users, but then she's selling to customers. Okay, so how about you, Stacy? How did you leverage Mom Tribes, and what else?
Mom Tribe. I just gave, I would give free nutrition talks and then say, hey, I'm seeing one-on-one clients, or I teach cooking classes, and then,
How did you decide where to give those talks?
ooh, that's a great question. I did one like at the local library, just literally old school put up flyers, and I got like maybe 10 people. And then I reached out to like moms groups. Like churches often have like a moms group, like MOPS, and said, hey, do you guys need somebody to come do a talk? That was great because it was like a whole room full of my target audience. And then, yeah, it was just word of mouth.
Free
Free.
marketing, right? Because that's the other thing is how do you find your first customers, but how much did it cost you to find your first customers? So far, free. How about you?
So I speak at national conferences as well. So I'll travel, and that's one way to promote. So that's also free. Another way is word of mouth. So that's another free way. I don't think I've had to pay for advertising yet. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But with my situation, I think it's a little more unique because there's such a high demand. And so, it's almost like people just really kind of come to me and say, hey, this is what we really want to do, and we trust that you can help us with this.
Great. Shelby.
So throughout our development, now we're B2B enterprise software, but when we were first starting, I was selling to consumers. So I started out, it was free. I said, hey, I'll return your stuff for you to, someone that I met random. That wasn't, I know they tell you you want like your first or a couple of customers to be a friend or a family, but I said, I'm just gonna start with stranger and, I'll get honest feedback that way. And so that was, of course, free. And then I said, how can I, leverage this to a larger audience? So then I started posting surveys in different Facebook groups for personal stylists who I knew would be purchasing a lot of clothes and need to return them. And that's how I got my next set of customers. And then lastly, I started talking to people who own fashion brands or resale platforms and started just asking them, well, what is your problem as far as like the return and resale process, and having extensive conversations with them and then building whatever it is that they needed in exchange for access to their customers.
So that's a question that we often get challenged by, certainly with our entrepreneurs that we work with, and I think students too, is like, how can I market my business if I don't have any money? Or how do I get customers if I don't have money for marketing or whatever? 4 great examples of there is a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. There are so many different ways to go and connect with customers that cost nothing. You just have to start, right? And it's not going to be perfect, right? And you're going to learn along the way. And sometimes you're going to be standing outside an ice cream shop with balloons and going, what the heck am I doing here? But you push through and you learn, and you just grab the moment and you learn something. Any other question? We're going to wrap up so you guys have time to talk to them in person.
I do have one more thing
Okay.
I'd love you guys to share. The majority of my students, what are those long nights? What are those sleepless nights? What does that look like? Because everybody's successful right now, right? And you had your moment, the online thing, and the event that failed, but there's the in-between stuff that we forget about. You have a family, the kids. How do you balance all that stuff? What else like that nitty-gritty stuff, that everyday stuff that you may not get to hear about from somebody else? Give us a little bit of that.
Yeah, what non-stereotypical advice would you give, right? Like work hard, dedication, perseverance, like that's pretty stereotypical to college or even starting a business. Obviously, you have to work hard, right? Like, what would be the best advice? It
this will be our final question, so make it good, ladies. No, just kidding. Okay. We'll give them a minute to think about that. Yeah.
I think what would help is, I know, because I hear that a lot of like, what's like the non-stereotypical advice? Well, what, in your case, do you have like an example, or like what is like the stereotypical advice that you receive that you're like, this isn't quite hit? Like, what is it that you're necessarily like looking for?
So what it means is like, what advice would you have given your younger self?
Like in hindsight.
In hindsight, what would you tell yourself back in the day?
And don't feed us the line of like, oh, it's just gonna take a lot of hard work and sleepless nights, but it's all worth it, just keep going. Like, they don't wanna hear that. They wanna know what the nitty-gritty truth is.
Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate that you didn't have a lot of capital. I hate hearing Bill Gates talk about, don't worry about money, cool. You had $1 million, bro. Like,
Right. That's part of why I tried to make sure that like I emphasize the fact that you don't need a lot of capital to start, because one of the pieces of advice that I would give that was like typical was just, well, Shelby, just go and start a marketplace like Uber. They did it, you can do it. You out of your, bedroom and your laptop, you go out there and you get started. And I'm like, so I don't have $30 million. I have $500. What am I gonna do? And being resourceful, not just in like things like Dollar Tree things, but I mean as in like knowing who to talk to get real advice, to kind of like circumvent a lot of the experiments that would have been more costly. Kind of having my ear to the ground and really like building trust and having vulnerable conversations with other founders in order for them to kind of put me on game. As you start in your entrepreneurial journey, you'll like develop relationships with other founders and business owners who are like, okay, let me tell you what I did about the nonprofit thing, or any other tools. So for me, it was, let's utilize Facebook and surveys. Say you're gonna give out a raffle ticket for $25. Even if you don't buy the Amazon raffle ticket, just kind of use that to get some buzz and get like, some momentum for your user wait list. And let's use that as a point of traction as opposed to only focusing on revenue. You don't have to start with a big customer like Target. Let's see what other communities that you can impact, like personal stylists who are a lot more accessible. When you start talking with people who are in your industry or can be mentors, they'll give you that less cliched advice. And that takes time, and that takes a lot of getting through people who are gonna tell you, just work hard. But I had just as many people tell me, oh, just quit. You're not Amazon, you're not this and that. Just don't even try. Like, it's okay, my first startup failed. I literally went through an accelerator where that's like all that they did. But then I would look at my why and I would say, okay, I'm passionate about online shopping. I want for there to be a way for people who, are size diverse or don't have a lot of income, who have to shop from fast fashion, who want to be part of the circular economy anyways. That's my why. That's what I kind of like looked to, and therefore that's what kept me going, and that's what like.
She said, that's my why. For my students in here, there you go.
And go ahead, finish up.
So that's what I would say as far as like, that's my why, that's what keeps me going, and that's how I get to that non-cliched advice. And I can always talk with you after about like what other advice or who you're looking to connect with.
Thank you, Shelby. And I just want to say, if I were to summarize what I hear you saying to make it a cliche, because I'm going to do that, is, get comfortable with the baby steps is what I think I hear you saying, right? Yeah. Okay.
All right, so I'll keep it real. You pretty much have to be a glutton for punishment because sometimes being an entrepreneur sucks. So, it is fun. But it is definitely a roller coaster ride. And, the why is absolutely important. Talking about things like starting from a pile of money. I am a single mom. I was on welfare. I was on food stamps. I was on all this other stuff, right? Because I had to take that step back to go to college to take a step forward. So I had my full career. Yeah, I was used to making lots of money. It was awesome. I had all the nice things. But when I went back to school, it was either a job, because I'm, again, a single mom, or it was my education. And I chose my education, which meant I had to give up all the luxuries, right? And so, starting from nothing, it becomes really difficult. There are tons of long nights. It is a roller coaster ride. You're gonna have these wins where you're like, oh, this is awesome, I'm on top of the world, I'm achieving everything I thought I could, and then right the next day, you're gonna get smacked with something that's gonna drop you to the ground, and you're like, I'm never gonna succeed, I'm gonna fail, right? And you're gonna have tons of that. So the why, absolutely, 100%, that is so important to keep you going. Surrounding yourself, you kind of touched on this, with people that are not necessarily gonna lie to you and say, oh, you're doing something great, when you're not, but people that believe in you, that's gonna be really important, and believe in your message. If you don't have that, then it's gonna be important to be able to, convince yourself, like, hey, listen, you know what? All these naysayers are saying, no, I can't do this, but I know deep inside, like, this is what I really wanna do. I know I have something special. I know I can make it, and just go for it, right? So lots of crying, lots of therapy, lots of food binging, right? And laying in bed and sleeping the depression away. That's all gotten me through it. So, I know I probably brought this whole thing down, but it's true, right? But here I am today, and I'm still working, so not giving up. That's a huge part too. Even though you go in those low lows, don't give up. Keep going, because you know your why, and that why is important to you. Does that help? Real enough for you? All right.
I feel like it's just start. Just start, no matter how small of a start it is, because I know so many people are like, oh, I have to build a website, oh, I have to build this, and I have to get the LLC, and just start. Even if it's just, I don't know what you're trying to what sort of business you're trying to do, and also like know your customer. So I started out, with one-on-one clients, and my specialty was gut health, and that was my passion, was helping people fix their guts, that, their doctor's like, IBS, I don't know, good luck to you. But clients would come to me and they're like, oh, hey, I have hormone problems. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can help with that, I guess. Yeah, oh, I have this, my kid has ADHD. I'm like, yeah, okay. And it sucked because that was not my passion, right? My passion was gut health. So once I really zoned in on my customer, then things blew up. But I just had to start. I just had to put one foot in front of the other and just say, screw it. It's scary. It's super scary because a lot of times you don't know what the hell you're doing. But you just have to start.
Yeah, no matter how many years you've been in business, I've been in business for 15 years and I still have many sleepless nights. So it is, like everyone said, it's a huge roller coaster. So if you're getting started, start backwards. So what you want to, I don't know what type of business you're planning to do, but what is it that you are delivering or creating, and then work backwards all the steps. But I would strongly advise to reach out to mentors, identify mentors, because, and build a, I belong to a National Association of Women Business Owners, and I've been in it ever since I started the business. And I have fellow business owners to bounce off ideas constantly, and we all go through the same ups and downs, and we all know what others have gone through. And I don't look for business from other business owners, but because it's just not the model that I'm in, but people do get that. But I do get a lot of education from other business owners, so that's the main reason I stay in that organization and I serve on the board, and that has been a tremendous help for me. And whenever I'm down, I can pick up the phone and call other business owners and say, hey, how did you do this? And I get some help from that.
Awesome.
You can whine to them too, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this customer did this. Oh my God, same. Right? Yeah.
And I think another reason why you hear a lot of like the don't give up, persevere, just keep at it, is because things take a long time. Kind of like what Stacy, what you mentioned earlier as far as elderberry and how you were kind of ahead of the curve before COVID. Entrepreneurs have to be right ahead of the curve, so that takes a lot of time beforehand before you're even at the right place at the right time. And it takes at least 2 years to get something off the ground. I mean, I've been at this for a year and a half and I'm just starting. And it's because when you first start, you're bad at it. You're not that great, whether it's selling your idea to customers or to teammates or to even your family. So you just have to have that compounding effort, and that never give up is for all the things that you can't plan that will happen, that amazing mentor and advisor investor that will kind of just come along and be like, hey, I think what you're doing is cool. I want to invest, I want to be a part of this. You have to stay in the game in order for that to happen, but that's still a message that's to a very privileged audience, assuming that you have the time, the money, the resources, the network to even stay in it. But that's why I was always like, I was very fortunate to have created a village around me of people who were also resourceful and not very privileged when they started their startup, and were able to kind of put me on game to avoid a lot of the unnecessary pitfalls or roadblocks.
I think that was a great way to end. Yes.
I have a list somewhere. I'll look
You can
up
share
on
it. You
my-
can share it with me and we'll get it out to you.
Yeah.
Anything come to mind real quick, ladies?
We can talk forever, y'all.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to think of stuff that's not like too like entrepreneurial. I know there's like founder-led sales. It's like the
Right.
book with the wave on front talking about like how you like build like your enterprise sales. But if I just need to like maintain like myself and like self-care. I read a lot of bell hooks. So, that's kind of like that dichotomy. So it's just about whatever you feel feeds you, because a lot of times it can be really discouraging because you feel like the failures in business are an attack on yourself and your self-esteem. So you always have to have like a well in order to rebuild that.
Yeah, I love that you're adding in that separate yourself. It's, if your business fails or if it's not doing as well as you want it to, that's not a reflection of your value, right? So, definitely learn how to separate that. And then Harvard Business Review books are amazing because they compile a bunch of articles that are so amazing, really seriously. And then they're like super short reads too, so.
Yeah, they have case studies and so real life problems and how they're solved.
All right, I think I'm going to let us break because we have these guys till 2 and I want you to be able to talk to them. So I'm going to summarize with know your why, don't give up, that's cliched, but we're going to use it anyway. Build your community. I heard a lot about building your community, and just get started. And so can we just give a huge round of applause to these ladies? Thank you so much for being with us today. Great. And they'll be here for a few minutes, so please come talk to them.